Am I the asshole for telling my sister she could have dated the guy she liked had she not been such a misogynistic pick-me? My 20 female sister Kim and I are identical twins. We were very different growing up and still are. I hate to say this, but Kim is the definition of a pick-me girl, always spewing misogynistic nonsense on how women are weak and should abide to men. How she's so short and petite so she can't do anything on her own without a big strong man around. How all the girls are trying too hard by wearing makeup while she is pretty naturally, so they all hate her for it. You get the gist. Kim and I attend the same college but study there in different departments. In one of my classes there is this guy named Dave. Dave is your typical handsome frat boy that most girls in our college have a crush on, including Kim. Over the summer I've started working in a small coffee shop near campus to earn some extra cash. During that time Dave became a frequent customer there and was pretty friendly toward me since he recognized me from class. After a while he admitted that he's attracted to me and asked me out so we can get to know each other. Knowing that Kim liked him, I decided to reject Dave and instead offered to set him up with her. We are identical, so if he asked me out based on attraction it really shouldn't matter. Dave agreed and I gave him my sister's number. I knew they met up for a date during the weekend but didn't have the time to ask Kim how it went since I was sick. Today during my shift Dave approached me and asked if I could return to Kim the lip gloss she left in his car since he knew the brand was expensive. I asked him why he didn't return it to her himself and he said that he didn't want to see her after how the date went. I was confused and so I asked him if the date was really that bad. He explained that they went to a nice restaurant where my sister didn't stop harassing and criticizing the waitress for wearing too much makeup and looking easy. After that fiasco was over she proceeded to say some stuff that I can only imagine are usually said in an Andrew Tate podcast. Dave, who was apparently raised by a single mother and has 5 sisters, was horrified, so he excused himself to the bathroom, paid for their meal, Venmo'd Kim some cash for an Uber and left her at the restaurant alone. I was embarrassed for Kim but totally understood why Dave walked out on her, so I apologized on her behalf and took the lip gloss with me. I returned it to her 2 hours ago and she didn't stop complaining on how awful Dave was, how he wasn't a real man since real men usually like when she brings up how women are inferior to them. At some point I just cut her off and told her that she had a chance of a nice date with a guy she liked but ruined it all because she couldn't stop being a misogynistic pick-me even for 1 second. I'm now back at my apartment and Kim hasn't stopped texting me demanding I apologize, but I don't feel like it. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. Good on Dave. Maybe you should give him a shot? Lol. I second this opinion. Dave seems like a nice guy and he's clearly into original poster. Ditto. Remember, you may be identical twins but it does not mean that you have the same brain. Give Dave a shot. Greater than you may be identical twins but it does not mean that you have the same brain. I'm a very identical twin yet we are very different when it comes to relationships. Indeed. Original poster should give Dave a chance. All we are SAAAAAAYING as give Dave a chance. Not enough information. Why do you hate Dave so much? What did he do to you that you would inflict your sister on him? I don't hate Dave, he actually seems like a great guy. We live in an area that is considered more traditional, conservative, so many people here have the same beliefs as Kim when it comes down to gender roles. Albeit she's more extreme than most. I just assumed Dave wouldn't mind that much. I guess I should also admit that I kind of judged him based on his appearance. When we first met he gave off heavy frat bro vibes and you know how most frat guys are. I knew that Kim liked him and assumed the only reason he asked me out was because I fit the European beauty standards, so the decision to set them up was a no-brainer for me. Thinking back on it, I do believe I owe him a second apology. He even asked me to reconsider my rejection since apparently he really likes me and want to go out. I think you should apologize and treat him to lunch or something. Even if it ultimately goes nowhere, you owe him that much. Not the asshole about your sister. She doesn't owe him anything. She already apologized for her awful sister and maybe Dave is a good guy and if she feels like it, she can go out with him. I don't know if they mean it as indebted to him and more a casual, I owe you one. Obviously original poster didn't do anything wrong, but sometimes it's just nice to treat a friend after you set them up on a bad date. Yeah, with real friends, saying I owe you and fixing something is your way of saying you value this friendship, relationship enough to reflect and change if you were wrong. Not the asshole. Your sister is allowed to have outdated and toxic beliefs, but she needs to realize in the year of Our Lady Dolly Parton, 2022, a lot of people aren't going to agree with those things. You told her the truth, you can't control how she responds to the truth. I personally wouldn't apologize, but this is your life and she's your twin. If you decide to keep peace and work out an apology, then that's your choice. But I am a pretty big believer in calling out stupidity and bigotry when possible and wouldn't back down. I kinda hope this knocks her down a few pegs and brings her into the real world for your sake and hers. In the year of Our Lady Dolly Parton. May she continue to shine her light for all to see. Not the asshole. You owe her no apology, but you do owe Dave one. He liked you and your personality. Instead, you set him up with a nightmare. You also denied yourself a date with a nice guy that you should have accepted, unless you didn't like him. You owe your sister nothing. She prejudged him based off his looks and frat boy appearance. She thought he was after her for her looks and based her own response to him off of his. That bothers me because she was treating him in a way she looked down on because she thought he was treating her that way. Not sure if that makes sense. I guess you could say, it was a hypocritical move. Or she just knew her twin sister liked him and chose not to go for it out of respect for her sister, which is now undeserved. I'm pretty sure this is trollbait, and honestly, kudos, it's up to a much better standard than usual lately. It's probably fresh and fit. Not the asshole, but for a side note, why did you set them up? Yes, he was attracted to you, but that doesn't mean his attraction was only physical. If I was Dave, I would have been a little put off. I understand your sister thought he was cute, but he asked you out, not a copy of you. From what original poster says, it sounds like the attraction may be physical. Sounds like they haven't really interacted, only seen each other. In such a situation, I could see myself saying, look, I'm not interested, but there's someone who looks exactly like me who has a crush on you. He agreed on the date, so he can't have been too put off by it. Well, he frequented her work and they were friendly, not saying they had meaningful conversations, but they probably had nice little moments that piqued his interest. He could have even been frequenting the place just to see her. If I was kind of vibing with someone, it would throw me off if they were like, no thanks, but you can hang out with my evil clone. Obviously she didn't say that, but you get the point. There is always the conservative dating app. I hear they desperately need women to join it. Single, conservative man looking for a woman with no self-respect. Not the asshole. You are two separate people who happen to look alike. That doesn't mean you think alike. If her misogynistic attitude bothers you, tell her it bothers you and you don't want to listen to her diatribes anymore, and you won't apologize for speaking the truth. Maybe you should go out with Dave once and show him that identical twins are only identical on the outside. I've had multiple conversations with her about it, and she doesn't usually bring up the topic when she's around me. She generally doesn't act like that 24/7, but whenever there is a guy around, she just goes into overdrive. I guess this type of behavior worked for her in the past, and since Dave looks like your typical frat boy, she thought he'd like it too. As for going out with Dave, he did ask me to reconsider his offer, but told me that if I'll reject him again, he won't push for something I don't want. I don't know whether I should accept it or not. He seems like an amazing guy, but I know it'll hurt Kim. Dude, just get to know the guy. Kim sounds like she's gonna be unhappy no matter what you do. She doesn't get to claim some guy for forever who she doesn't even know. You actually have a relationship with this guy and like him. You'd be crazy to not find out if you've got a connection. I think I'd probably have to do some dramatic haircut, dye job combo, so I couldn't be mistaken for her if it was me. Jeez. Not the asshole. Lol, I have been dyeing my hair black since high school for that reason. We are both naturally blonde. Okay, yeah, you goofed. Dave likes you. Take him out for apology lunch and get to know him. Not the asshole, but I will say this, you both seem to be quite judgmental. You assumed Dave was a typical frat boy douchebag based on his looks, and it actually sounds like he's a sweet guy who's been brought up around women and respectful. She's also a judgmental asshole for obvious reasons. But she is who she is, and you are who you are. You seem to have the presence of mind to reflect on your opinions, she may not. What will happen is she'll find her big, strong, manly man, and he'll probably treat her like garbage. You will be the one to be in a healthy relationship with someone respectful and caring. That's on her. But I feel sorry for Dave being passed on to your sister because you assumed he was someone he wasn't. She passed Dave on to her sister because she knew her sister already liked him and didn't want to hurt her feelings, not because she was judging him for being a jock type. She says it in the post. Well, I'll admit it was a bit of both. I explained it better in a different comment, but to sum it up, I knew Kim liked Dave and Dave looked like the type that'll like Kim more than he'll like me. If Kim didn't have a crush on him, I would have probably agreed on the date, but seeing that she clearly told me that she liked him, I thought it was a no-brainer setting them up at that time. Did part of you think, he doesn't really want a girl like me? There are two things here: your low self-esteem and your judgment of him. They're both symptoms of the same thing, and while your sister wears her misogynistic values as a badge, maybe you've internalized some too? Not a dig, just something to consider. Not the asshole, by the way, and give Dave a shot. Hashtag Team Dave, Dave for life, etc. etc. Not the asshole, I say. Hit up Dave to see if he would want to give it a shot with you. He did ask you out first. Not the asshole. Your sister sounds awful. She needed a good dose of reality. I think you are at a point where you may want to start distancing yourself from her. She's going to develop a really nasty reputation and you don't want to be in that glow. Not the asshole. I mean, where were you wrong? Her disgusting attitude towards women was the direct cause for Dave's lack of attraction to her. Either she changes her views or she can move to an area with fundamentalist extremists like her and find her big strong man there. Dave has every right to be disgusted by her. Not the asshole. Your sister sounds exhausting. Not the asshole. Your sister needs to wake up and recognize that she's not inferior to anyone because of her gender. And if she somehow thinks she's not inferior, but every other woman is, there are deeper issues she needs to see a therapist for. Not the asshole. You gave her a harsh but needed dose of reality. Not the asshole. You were absolutely right, and so is Dave. Screw Kim and her inner misogyny. Not the asshole. Yeah, I don't know why you even thought you were in the wrong. I would have walked out on her too. How did you share a womb with her? Not the asshole. She might have some serious self-esteem issues, but what baffles me is that you were both raised in the same environment, but she's the only one with this warped mindset. With that logic in her head, unfortunately the only men who'll be attracted to her will be the wrong kind of men in every single way. Don't apologize to her, but do be ready to recommend a good therapist to try and help her sort out whatever caused this mindset to take root in her.